Welcome to War Bios, the podcast that delves into the complexities of military history, where strategy, leadership, and human drama intersect. Today, we're embarking on an in-depth exploration of one of World War II's most pivotal battles, El Alamein. This desert clash between Allied forces, led by General Bernard Montgomery and the Axis powers under the command of Field Marshal Erwin Rommel, marked a turning point not only in North Africa, but also in the war's broader narrative. The North African campaign had been raging since 1940, with Italy's initial foray into Egypt being swiftly countered by British forces. However, the entry of German troops under Rommel's command in 1941 dramatically shifted the balance. Rommel, with his tactical genius and ability to inspire loyalty, led the Axis powers to several victories, pushing the Allies back towards Egypt. The summer of 1942 was a critical period. The Axis forces had reached El Alamein, a small railway station in Egypt, barely 60 miles from Alexandria. This proximity to the Nile Delta and the Suez Canal posed a significant threat to British interests and supply lines. The defensive line at El Alamein was all that stood between Rommel's army and the potential to control the Middle East. As we navigate this pivotal moment in history, let us not forget the human element that underpinned these grand strategic maneuvers. Soldiers on both sides faced unimaginable hardships, blistering desert heat, limited supplies of water and food, and the ever-present threat of death or injury. The psychological toll of such conditions should not be underestimated. Men were pushed to their limits, testing their resolve, courage, and loyalty. General Claude Auchinleck, commander of the British 8th Army, faced immense pressure as he prepared to meet Rommel's offensive. Auchinleck's strategy involved a flexible defense, intending to wear down the Axis forces before counterattacking. However, this approach was put to the test in July 1942, when Rommel launched a series of attacks that became known as the First Battle of El Alamein. The First Battle of El Alamein was a sobering experience for both sides. Rommel's forces had gained ground, but at significant cost, and the British, though battered, had managed to hold their lines. This period also saw an escalation in the air war, with Allied aircraft increasingly targeting Axis supply convoys, further straining Rommel's logistical capabilities. As August turned into September, the strategic situation continued to evolve. Rommel, aware of his logistical challenges and the dwindling supplies, sought a decisive victory before the Allies could reinforce their positions. Meanwhile, in the Allied camp, significant changes were underway. General Bernard Montgomery was appointed to command the 8th Army, bringing with him a renewed sense of purpose and a clear vision for how to defeat Rommel. Montgomery's appointment marked a significant shift in British strategy. Unlike his predecessors, Montgomery was adamant about not engaging Rommel until he was ready. He spent precious time reorganizing his forces, improving morale, and planning a decisive counterattack. This period also saw an increase in Allied air power, which would play a crucial role in the upcoming battle by disrupting Axis supply lines and providing close air support to ground troops. Under Montgomery's leadership, the 8th Army underwent a transformation. He instilled a sense of discipline and professionalism, emphasizing the importance of meticulous planning and thorough preparation. Montgomery also recognized the value of intelligence, ensuring that his forces were well informed about the enemy's dispositions and intentions. The armies faced each other across the desert landscape, each aware that the outcome of their clash would have far-reaching consequences. Rommel, despite his legendary status, was about to face an opponent who was not only well prepared, but also determined to secure a victory that would change the course of the war. As October 1942 dawned, the 8th Army under Montgomery's command was poised for its decisive counterattack against Rommel's forces. On October 23, 1942, at 9:40 p.m., the Allied artillery unleashed a barrage of unprecedented ferocity, signaling the beginning of the Second Battle of El Alamein. This onslaught, involving over 1,000 guns, was designed to shatter Rommel's defensive lines and pave the way for a massive infantry and armored assault. The initial breakthrough came in the north, where the 9th Australian Division, supported by British armor, breached the Axis defenses. The Australians, battle-hardened from months of fighting, moved with a precision that belied the chaos around them. However, the going was tough, with Rommel's men putting up fierce resistance. The Australians, backed by relentless artillery fire and air support, slowly but surely gained ground, inching their way through the treacherous minefields that littered the desert landscape like a deadly, invisible web. As the battle raged on, Montgomery's master plan began to unfold with the precision of a well-oiled machine. He had deliberately chosen to attack in the north, aiming to draw Rommel's reserves into a killing zone where they could be destroyed by Allied firepower. This clever tactic would ultimately prove decisive, as Rommel, responding to the threat, committed his limited armored forces to the fray, only to see them torn apart by British tanks and artillery. The desert sands, once a vast expanse of uncertainty, were now a battleground where every move was calculated, every decision critical. On October 25, the 1st Armored Division, led by General Raymond Briggs, launched a bold thrust into the heart of the Axis positions. Although they faced formidable opposition, the British armor made steady gains, gradually grinding down Rommel's defenses like a relentless, mechanized juggernaut. The sound of clashing steel, the roar of engines, and the staccato burst of machine gun fire filled the air as the two forces clashed in a frenzy of movement and destruction. Meanwhile, in the skies above, Allied aircraft continued to pound Axis supply lines and troop concentrations, further exacerbating Rommel's logistical woes. The desert, once a haven for Rommel's mobile tactics, was now a prison with the Allies holding the keys. The air campaign, a critical component of Montgomery's strategy, had crippled Rommel's ability to respond effectively, leaving his forces vulnerable to the Eighth Army's onslaught. One of the most pivotal moments of the battle came on October 27, when the 2nd New Zealand Division, supported by British tanks, launched a daring raid deep into enemy territory. Their objective was the strategic hill of Tel El Akakir, which dominated the surrounding landscape and offered unparalleled views of the battlefield. After intense fighting, the New Zealanders secured the hill, giving Montgomery's forces a vital observation point from which to direct their artillery fire. The hill, a barren, rocky outcropping, was now a linchpin in the Allied strategy, a beacon of hope in a sea of uncertainty. As the battle entered its final phase, Rommel's situation grew increasingly desperate. His troops were exhausted, his armor depleted, and his supply lines on the brink of collapse. The desert, once a vast expanse of opportunity, had become a graveyard for his ambitions. In a last-ditch attempt to stem the tide, he threw his remaining forces into a series of frenzied counterattacks, but these were ruthlessly repelled by the Eighth Army. As the last remnants of Rommel's counterattacks were repelled, the Eighth Army began its final push, driving deep into Egyptian territory and sending the Axis forces reeling in disarray. The desert landscape, once a seemingly endless expanse of sand and rock, was now a battleground scarred by the intensity of war. On November 4, 1942, Montgomery's forces breached the Axis defenses at El Daba, marking a decisive turning point in the battle. The once formidable Africa Corps was now in full retreat, with its commanders scrambling to salvage what remained of their shattered army. The aftermath of the battle saw a frantic scramble by the Axis powers to regroup and reassess their strategy in North Africa. Rommel, his reputation tarnished by the defeat, would eventually be recalled to Europe, where he would play a key role in the Allied invasion of Normandy. The Eighth Army, on the other hand, pressed its advantage, pursuing the retreating Axis forces across the desert and into Tunisia. As the Allies advanced, they encountered the remnants of the Africa Corps, who fought valiantly but ultimately in vain. The true extent of the Allied victory became clear as the dust settled on the battlefield. The Battle of El Alamein had been a crushing defeat for the Axis powers, with over 30,000 casualties and the loss of irreplaceable equipment and supplies. For the Allies, the battle marked a major turning point in the war, as it secured the Suez Canal and paved the way for the eventual invasion of Italy. The significance of this victory cannot be overstated, as it marked a shift in the balance of power between the great nations of the world. Rather, it was the result of a combination of innovative tactics, clever use of intelligence, and the bravery of the soldiers who fought on the front lines. Montgomery's decision to concentrate his forces and launch a massive artillery barrage, followed by a swift and decisive infantry advance, proved to be the key to unlocking the Axis defenses. The Battle of El Alamein also marked a significant shift in the role of air power in modern warfare. The Allies' effective use of air support, including bombing raids and reconnaissance missions, played a crucial role in weakening the Axis forces and disrupting their supply lines. This innovative approach to air power would go on to influence the development of military strategy in the decades that followed. As Winston Churchill would later remark, "It may almost be said that before Alamein we never had a victory, and after Alamein we never had a defeat." The battle had been a defining moment in the war, one that had swung the balance of power decisively in favor of the Allies. Today, the Battle of El Alamein is commemorated as a pivotal moment in modern history, with the battlefield itself preserved as a memorial to the soldiers who fought and died there. The cemetery and museum at El Alamein serve as a poignant reminder of the battle's significance, with row upon row of headstones bearing witness to the sacrifices made by the soldiers who fought there. For historians and scholars, the battle remains a fascinating case study in military strategy and tactics, with its innovative use of artillery and air power setting a new standard for modern warfare. That's all for today's War Bios. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, I'm General Biography reminding you to keep marching toward victory.